تماما. من مأساة هذه الحرب اللعينة الفرضوها فينا الفلول الانقلابيين.
Well, there is a cash crisis in South Sudan. A lot of queues have been experienced in different banks, and the banks are saying that they don't have enough money. So where has the money that is supposed to circulate the South Sudanese economy gone? This money has found its way to RSF-controlled regions. In fact, Darfur has been experiencing a lot of cash that is coming from South Sudan. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you about how this cash has ended up into Darfur. As well as in this video, I'm going to tell you about how people who are close to power in South Sudan are profiteering, taking advantage of this situation that is crashing the economy of South Sudan. Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit the notification button so that when I release something new on Sudan or South Sudan, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, a member of parliament in the South Sudanese Transitional Assembly took to parliament an urgent motion, noting that there was a critical cash shortage problem that was affecting citizens and civil servants nationwide. In fact, banks say that they didn't have money available for withdrawals. The situation in the country is dire because long queues have been experienced with withdrawals limited to 50,000 South Sudanese pounds or 100,000 South Sudanese pounds per person, forcing many to borrow from informal sources that are also taking advantage of the situation. Well, upon their own investigations, as well as reaching out to bank managers and bank officials, it was found out that a lot of cash, that is South Sudanese cash, has been flowing into RSF-controlled Darfur. And of course, right now, Darfur is being led by the RSF, headed by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, who was sworn in just the other day with his entire government that has since been rejected by the African Union, the Arab League, and the United Nations. But let me put you to context over what exactly happened that made Darfur to lack any cash that has made now cash to flow from South Sudan into Darfur to stabilize the economy there. So the Sudanese government that is headed by Al-Burhan waged an economic war against the RSF. And this economic war involved the central bank issuing new banknotes in early 2025 so that it can centralize monetary control as well as limit RSF access to funds. Now, the RSF, upon hearing this, went on and banned new notes in areas under their control, making sure that there was no circulation of the national currency in the areas that they control. Well, that caused a gap in liquidity in the areas that the RSF controlled. And that is not all, because many bank branches were destroyed or looted during the conflict, especially RSF-controlled areas, making it nearly impossible to circulate currency reliably. The locals turned to mobile apps and some even reverted to barter trade. Some decided to use the US dollars or Central Africa franc instead of the local currency. Now, this liquidity gap that was created by the decision of the Sudanese government, as well as the war, the looting of these bank branches and making circulation very impossible in the areas that are controlled by the RSF, is the reason as to why there has been that pooling of demand of cash from South Sudan into Darfur to circulate the economy there. But all this is not a coincidence, because just months ago, the RSF held its Nairobi caucus where they decided to form a new government, a new parallel government to the Sudanese government. In that caucus, the RSF commander Abdel Rahim Daglo said that the RSF will plan to have its own currency, passports, and official documents. So that has not happened yet, and the national currency is banned. Therefore, this liquidity is now what has made the South Sudanese notes to find their way into Darfur so that they can help in circulating that particular economy. Well, that is not sanctioned by the South Sudanese government, and that is the reason as to why there is that cash crunch in South Sudan right now. Many people are complaining that there is no money in the banks. People are being paid, but they can only read figures and they cannot receive their cash from the banks. There is a limit over what someone can withdraw. And this now has created a situation whereby some people who are close to power in South Sudan are taking advantage, and they are getting richer at the expense of the economic crisis that is taking place in the country. There is a shadow elite that is close to power in South Sudan that has been exploiting the currency crisis. In fact, they go on to acquire US dollars from the central bank at favorable official rates and then trade them on the black market at much higher returns, thus widening the gap between official and street rates, because they know that people do not have cash and will want to exchange this cash perhaps to get US dollars, or they have US dollars and they will want South Sudanese pounds. It has been reported that this lack of liquidity has affected the exchange rate. That is because of this shadow elite, for example, depositing 1 million South Sudanese pound to get 100 US dollars, while in some places that 100 US dollars will only give you 600 South Sudanese pound. So that is the contrast of the exchange rate in South Sudan, because some people are taking advantage of that situation and getting richer because of this liquidity crisis that is ongoing in South Sudan. The cash that is supposed to circulate the economy of South Sudan is finding its way into RSF. The war in Sudan is now affecting the economy of South Sudan because of this liquidity problem. Well, I will continue to keep you informed of the latest of what is happening in South Sudan as well as Sudan. Keep it bona fide.